Guys ready? Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Ms. Marnie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Steve Friedman.
Here.
Councilmember Deb Gillis.
I think I'm here.
Councilmember Ann Richards.
Here.
Vice Mayor Don Horton.
Here.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Phillipson, would you lead us in the pledge?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Do we have any deletions, additions from the council? Deb, anything? Don?
No, ma'am.
Steve? Anna? Clean slate, okay. Should we go ahead and open up general public comment, Ms. Marnie?
Hey, I have Mr. Wishmeyer.
Yes, good evening, Council. Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. I guess a couple of questions that I keep bringing up on the budget is, why do we pay the most per person in the county with less area and fewer people? For example, with 2,500 less people than Marathon, we pay more than double per person. It just doesn't seem right. I guess in 2020 and 21, the total budget was $35.8 million. Since then, property values have risen exponentially, raising the taxable income to the village. Yet the budget has risen to $60.7 million in the last 5 years. Why? That's up almost 83%. 5 years ago, was our level of service really that insufficient that we were suffering? Hopefully, this council will be able to look into our current spending and come up with either an explanation on why or a way to reduce the budget. We, the public, look forward to having more of these budget hearings so that we can bring the budget into where it should be. Am I correct that we have 130 employees and the total cost for personnel, including fire department, is over $16 million? That includes the fire department and health insurance. That is an average of $123,000 per employee, even the person picking up the trash. Projected overtime for the coming year is over $670,000. Does this include overtime, like when we're sending people to the fills that we don't even have any say over? 3 trucks and 3 people every weekend. Another thing is the enterprise funds. I remember in our manager's newsletter, he said the enterprise funds are supposed to take care of themselves. Well, in there we have the marina and we have the ugly duckling, the wastewater. We always are taking money and adding it to the wastewater. Now, this doesn't mean that we should up everybody's price. I think that what we need to do is go back and re-examine, for example, some of the EDUs. I brought this up many, many times, that businesses change, but the EDUs don't. We had a committee, a budget committee that came up with many, many great ideas. I'm not so sure many of them were gone over. I think one of the biggest ones was, many times it was mentioned about overtime, the health insurance. I think these are all areas where we could improve, and I hope that you take that into consideration tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Marnie?
We do not have anyone else signed up for public comment.
Okay, public comment is now closed. John or Hattie, which one of you want to start with the first resolution? John?
I will read it,
Okay.
but then Hattie will take away
Okay.
for the, she's the star of the show. So.
Yes, she is, our little shining star.
This is a resolution of the Village Council of Islamorada, Village of Islands, Florida, amending resolution number 25-07-58, adopting a tentative millage rate for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2025 through September 30th, 2026, pursuant to section 200.065 Florida statutes and providing for an effective date.
All right, I'm just going to go over some of the legal requirements that we're required to talk about in the budget hearing. First is the tentative millage rate. We are proposing to adopt a millage rate of 2.65. This represents 8.64% increase over the rollback rate of 2.4392 mils. The rollback rate at which the village would generate the same revenue as the prior year, excluding new construction. The increase in millage this year is necessary to fund a lot of the non-discretionary increases in public safety costs, not to mention just increase in expenditures altogether. It's all essential services to keep the village running at the current level that it is running. The tentative millage rate at 2.65, if it's not adopted tonight, if it is adopted tonight, I'm sorry, cannot exceed the proposed millage rate of 3.0 mils, and that was what was mailed to the residents via the trim notice. The final millage rate to be adopted at the September 16th hearing cannot exceed whatever the tentative millage rate that you guys adopt tonight. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that. And you also have to adopt the tentative millage rate tonight in order to follow along the statutory requirements. And then, you know, as always, we invite the general public to speak and ask questions prior to the adoption of that budget and the mills.
Okay, before we do that, does council have anything they want to ask Hattie or any comments? Steve? Anna? Don?
No, ma'am.
Deb? Okay. So do you want to go ahead and see if there's public comment now, or do we want to?
Yeah, that would be
vote?
good.
Okay, all right. Anyone want to come up, Ms. Marnie?
Yes, Sue Miller is signed up.
Okay.
Surprise. Sue Miller, representing the Islamorada Community Alliance. Thank you for making an attempt to not raise the millage rate, but at 2.65, it still results in tax increases to most property owners here as their property values have increased. Over the last 5 years, our expenditures in the general fund have gone up from almost $15 million to over $23 million. In the same 5-year period, our overall expenditures for local government services have gone from $36 million to $65 million. $65 million in expenditures for a town with less than 7,000 residents is almost $10,000 for every man, woman, and child for Islamorada to provide government services. The proposed budget at 2.65 mils results in an increase of $2.5 million in property tax because the value of Islamorada has increased in the last year by over $500 million. $500,000 was saved by cutting 4 staff positions, 4 pretty high-paying positions, including a finance department accountant, a senior planner, and an IT network engineer. But very few other operating expenses were reduced. And still, with the $3 million extra revenue from taxes and staff positions eliminated, the proposed budget also cut almost $1 million for land acquisition. Now there's an additional $4 million available in this year's budget, and still it's not enough. Next, a cut in our critical fund balances. General fund balances for emergencies are cut nearly $1 million, and even more money is needed. So the fund balance for capital projects is cut by over $4 million. Over $400,000 is going to salary increases, over $450,000 to additional health insurance benefits for employees, and $678,000 for projected staff overtime. But let me tell you what I think is the worst problem and what you need to fix. Last year's general fund had $3.5 million in revenue from stewardship funding. This year, that line item is completely gone, a $3.5 million reduction by whiting out one revenue line. $3.5 million that needs to come from somewhere else. This year, that multi-million-dollar stewardship funding was cut from the general fund and moved to the wastewater fund. This year, $4 million is listed from the stewardship fund for wastewater to fix a wastewater deficit. The fifth or sixth year in a row that multi-million-dollar wastewater deficits have occurred. And for years, the general fund comes to wastewater's rescue via millage rate manipulation. You hear from me often about wastewater. You waive competitive bidding intended to provide the best costs, no rate study since day one to adjust the EDU counts. The village has budgeted $2 million each of the last 5 years to fix leaks at mile marker 92, and the funds are spent, but not on fixing the problem. And now you are taking $4 million in stewardship funding to again tell us the mile marker 92 issue will be addressed. And will wastewater get worse with the delayed maintenance? Today, it turns out the village was at my house when I left for the meeting because my grinder pump has apparently malfunctioned. No siren, no warning light, no SCADA system for warning. It just gave out and backed up. Wastewater is an enterprise fund and is supposed to be self-supporting and not self-supporting by taking money from other funds. In this budget, you show $111,000 for an accounting firm to help with our finances. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that things will improve. We have a new manager, a new finance director, and let's hope and pray that I won't be up here complaining much longer about the overtime at the fills, fixing wastewater messes, competitive bidding, and a continually increasing budget. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sue. Marnie, anybody else?
Let me double check on Zoom again, but I do believe there wasn't anyone else. No, ma'am. We're all set.
Okay. Anybody want to say anything? Go ahead, Don.
I think I'd like an explanation on the what Sue said on this stewardship funding, because that is absolutely not what I understand. And I think we need to set the record straight, because this is the third time I've heard this today. I've seen it once in writing and what Ms. Miller just said. So I don't know if that explanation should come from Peter or if that explanation should come from finance. But I think the record needs to be straight on the stewardship funding. So is there somebody smarter than me? Because I know I can explain it, but I don't want to explain it incorrectly.
Peter?
Is that AJ or is that Peter? Is it
Peter's
Peter?
coming up.
Very
Peter's
good.
gonna
Let
explain.
me understand that totally, so that maybe we can clear this up.
Sure. Well, good evening, council. Sure, I can clarify some of this confusion.
Thank you.
And if there's technical parts to it, AJ can answer that.
Thank you.
So we have a $4.2 million grant from the FDEP for the North Plantation Key upgrades. I have the work plan right here. It was actually one of the first stewardship grants we got. It was approved by the DEP. So this grant is intended for these types of projects. This is a wastewater improvement project. It was approved by the state. The reason it's showing up in our budget this year is because we're getting ready for construction. It wasn't in there in previous years because we were going through design and permitting, which were much more minimal costs.
Right.
So we are ready to procure a contractor this year and begin construction. So it's itemized as a budget item this year because we intend to construct. That's plain and simple.
So let me stop you there for just a second. So there's no bait and switch. This is actually money that we got from the state for a grant that is actually to help improve our system and to do improvements that we need on the NPK, right?
That's exactly right. And there wasn't a transfer from anywhere. I heard mention of a transfer. It wasn't transferred.
So we're
this
not
money has
borrowing
been
from
allocated to us.
We're not borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, although we do understand that we inherited a wastewater system that is not functioning as an enterprise fund should. The comments that are being made about taking $4 million of stewardship fund and throwing it in to fund, this money is being funded to improvements to NPK.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask a question with that? Along that same line, there is other stewardship money that we have.
Correct. Yeah, we have 4 other stewardship grants currently.
Okay, can you?
Then none of that
Not
money is
overly
applied.
detailed, but can you tell us what those 4 other grants are?
They're all for canal restoration projects.
And we've been using that money year after year that the state awards us for like canal restoration and the like, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
And Ron, to follow up on that, with this troubled wastewater system that we inherited, we are also looking in other ways which would include an increase in wastewater charges, not wastewater assessment fees. I think that's for when you first hook up is what that term is used for. But if as a user fee, those rates are going to hopefully come up to a point to where we actually have an enterprise fund that, if nothing else, doesn't lose money. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we've retained, as Sue Miller said, an accounting firm with expertise in this area to do an analysis of where we're spending money now, what needs to be done to get it to where it should be. We're going to have a meeting hopefully next week between our engineers and the Key Largo wastewater engineers to perhaps improve communications between the 2 entities. And we're trying to get wastewater under control. It has been not where it should have been. It's been costing us money, not making money. We will have to do a rate study eventually. We're not sure when. I think we have to do some of these things first. And also, we've had some input as far as whether we've been assessing people correctly, and we want to look into it. Whether it's accurate or not, we want to answer those questions and see if we've done something inaccurately, let's fix it. But we have to do it the right way. Having a CPA firm that has a lot of experience with this, I think it's the right way to go. So we are taking wastewater very seriously. It's not a situation we want to continue, but we don't want to have it not addressed. And so I think in the near future, we're going to have some better answers on wastewater.
I appreciate that. Anybody have anything for Peter before he tries to run away?
No.
Yeah, you'll be back.
All right. Thanks,
Okay,
Peter.
thank you,
Sure.
Peter. Okay, council, anything? Okay, so then do we make a motion to approve, or,
Yeah, a motion would be appropriate if there's no more discussion.
okay? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Just to clear, be clear, a motion to
Motion to
approve as
set-
presented.
Yes.
Yes, at
as presented.
265. Yes, sir.
Okay, Marnie, would you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Don Horton,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman,
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis,
Yes, but I do want to make a statement that none of us want to raise taxes, and that I'm not satisfied with the fund balance as to where it is, but it is what it is at this point of time, and that I'm much more satisfied than I was, when was that, 3 weeks ago? Whatever. But yes.
Councilmember Anna Richards, and Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, John, moving on.
Yep, next we're on a resolution of the Village Council of Islamorada Village of Islands, Florida, providing for adoption of the tentative budget of the village for the fiscal year 2025 to 2026, commencing on October 1, 2025, and ending on September 30th, 2026, authorizing expenditure of funds established by the budget, providing for budgetary control, providing for personnel authorization, providing for gifts and grants, providing for amendments, providing for encumbrances, providing for issuance of checks, providing for post-audit, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, Hattie, do you want to have anything?
I just wanted to point out on tab 1, page 1, I put together a budget memo for everyone to review, just to show you where we started with the first budget workshop until we are now, just to show that we tried to listen and we tried to do our best to reduce the budget as much as possible. So you'll see that we reduced the general fund budget by around $2.2 million. If you guys have any questions about that, let me know.
Anybody have anything for Hattie? Don, Deb, Anna, Steve? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do you want to have a discussion first, or do you want to open public comment? Okay, Marnie? Oh,
I'd say public comment.
well, okay. Marnie?
Unless Ms. Miller would like to speak again, we have no one for public comment.
Sue? I see your little hand raised.
Sue Miller, Lower Metacumby. I understand now that you can call this a grant for improving our wastewater system. I consider it a major maintenance flaw, and as an enterprise fund, I would much rather see stewardship funding going to water quality improvements that aren't our fault. I consider a wastewater flaw something that we did wrong, and that it isn't an environmental issue that we should have had to deal with. I also question in the reason that it appeared to me that you were moving funds from the general fund to wastewater was because last year the general fund showed a revenue line item of $3.5 million from stewardship funding, and that line is blank this year. And so it appeared that that $3.5 million was now going somewhere else. And when I saw the fund balance, or the 4.125 or whatever it was for wastewater, it appeared that stewardship funding that last year went into our general fund was now going somewhere else. So I apologize for my mistake, but I still would like to understand stewardship funding a little bit better, because to lose $3.5 million in your general fund in 1 year from a source that is really important to us and to our environment, I would like to better understand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Marnie, is there anybody else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'd like to point out, Ron, that we have to put the overtime in, even though we're not going to let it happen, correct?
Yeah, I wanted to go, as you know, to zero overtime, but I was informed, for example, with wastewater, there are times when they have to be called after hours, and unless you want to hire more staff, which apparently is not the direction people want us to go in, it's better to use overtime than hiring somebody for a whole year when you don't need them. Specifically, though, there's a very clear direction that we're not paying more overtime for the fills. That came up again tonight, and that's hopefully, as strongly as I can say it, not going to happen.
Okay.
Other overtime only will be done if approved directly by me.
Okay.
And
I just
I'm
wanted
trying
to
to be
point that out.
pretty tight on that. I really did want to go to zero overtime, but I was convinced by staff that that's not realistic, that there are times you have to have overtime, but we want to limit it as much as possible.
So that amount of money, we can, hopefully what's in here won't be used at all. That was my
Yeah,
point.
you have to budget for unexpected things,
Just
and we
wanted to bring
hopefully
that up.
won't have to have overtime. And like, for example, with the wastewater, we're already working with Key Largo on some things.
Yes.
We're talking about maybe having some contracted out services to reduce some of our expenses. And I do want to point out, before we move on, that at our last budget workshop, we didn't really address our employees, because I said we want to keep working at it. We were not able to do some things. I've had several individually tell me that we wanted to make sure we took care of our employees. We have great employees. We do a little bit of restructuring. I don't want to go into a lot of detail unless we want to, but by doing some restructuring, we were able to accomplish a couple of things. We also reduced the village's participation as far as the premiums for health insurance to the 80%, which was our target for the industry standard. But we also tried not to negatively impact our employees that were affected by it. And so by some cost savings, we're able to basically make sure our employees were taken care of. Now, are they as happy as they would like? No, because obviously, having pay raises would have been nice. But when you compare what happened with us with, let's say, Monroe County, the fact that we didn't have to fire 40 people, I think is a positive thing. So I did want to make sure that the employees know the restructuring we've done is done, since we were worried that we're still going to be getting rid of people. Mm-hmm. At this point, we're good to go. I don't see any other further restructuring at this point. But I do want to make sure we know that the employees, we've done the best we can do. And I think as a result of the council in particular, making sure that we talk to all of them. I think every employee's been talked to and understands the situation. And from what I can tell, they seem to be okay. Now, obviously, once again, we'd all love big pay increases, but I think that they understand it's a tough budget year, but we are trying to be fiscally conservative, and hopefully next year won't be as bad. But I do want to compliment our staff. They did step up and come up with some cost savings, and they understand it's a tough budget time, and we want to not raise taxes in tough times either. But we were able to provide pretty much the same level of services. And once again, we're locked into some non-discretionary expenses. We have a collective bargaining agreement with our firefighters. We have a contract with the sheriff, and they had to build in some increases because of their agreements. And so there were some expenses that we could not avoid. And so we have the same millage rate as last year. We are collecting more taxes, but we're also having more expenses. So I think overall, it's a good fiscally conservative budget that I think our staff really did a good job on. And I want to thank not just them, but we have the Citizens Budget Review Task Force that did a great job. The 5 people we appointed on that. A lot of people in the audience, we've been in constant contact, usually every week, with some people in the audience about the budget, and they've had some good ideas too. So I think it's still an ongoing process. We never close the budget down. If anybody has any more good ideas, we'll be open the rest of the year for ideas. But I think as far as for tonight's purposes and for the 16th, I think we have a budget that we can be proud of to the extent of recognizing the economic situation we're in.
Thank you. I see a bunch of green lights on. Deb, you want to start?
Yes, I was going to talk about overtime also. That figure that is in there also includes the fire department, correct?
Yes, and once again,
And-
a lot of that's collectively bargained. We have zero discretion on that.
So there'll be a chunk of it, probably the larger portion of it, that we have little discretion on. So the part that we have discretion on, you and I have talked, your staff and I have talked. The staff did a great job in trying to cut back the overtime that we have that's not in that collective bargaining. I also would have preferred to see a zero and then you approve whatever, and then we do a budget amendment. We do budget amendments all the time, but that's not the way you guys decided that it should be booked. Government accounting, you and I talked about this at the last meeting, is much different than what we do in the general public. So if that's the way that it is believed that it should be booked, that's fine. I do also want to make sure that any of the overtime is allowed. In my own business, I pay overtime. Do I like it? No, but the alternative is not right either. So there are times that it has to be. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that a big chunk of that overtime that they're seeing is part of the collective bargaining that we have little control on.
Don, did you want to say something?
Just real quick, I think the message, I hope the message, well, I know that when we first started this budget cycle and going through here, one of the comments that I made was, I want to make sure that we protect the staff, that we look out for our staff. And as we go through trying to, I guess, correct the sins of the past, I think I look at this year as a reset year. I think that if we are careful and we do our homework and we do a rate study on our wastewater, and if we continue to make improvements, possibly through other methods, outsourcing, whatever needs to happen, that we can continue to protect our staff, and hopefully we can pay attention to that rate study that was done last year, that we can somehow try to catch up. We have a very good staff in Islamorada. They care about the job they do. They care about Islamorada and protecting Islamorada, and I think we need to be diligent of that. So I'm hopeful that we can just work through this year and have a reset, and then be in much better shape next year when we start this budget cycle again.
Hannah, did you want to say something?
It's kind of on the same lines of Dawn, that, I was very clear with staff that, with Ron and Hattie especially, that we take very good care of our our staff. I did not want them hurt, not by $1. In the same sense, you know, we didn't fire people, so, you know, there's a little give and take there. And I also want to make it very clear, because there was kind of a narrative put out there that we might not have taken this seriously, and I took it very seriously.
Yep.
I spent hours reading this book, writing down notes. I didn't just walk into the workshop that first night, pick up the book, and wing it. Like, I spent a lot of time working on this. So.
Steve?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate some of the points that Ron made. I want to thank the staff. I want to thank the Citizens Task group that helped out with this process. And I think it is an ongoing process throughout the year that I'd like to see where we can still find areas to save costs. And I think Don touched on some of those areas where we might also be able to increase revenue. I think AJ talked about a new study for the stormwater that's going to be happening this year, where we can reevaluate some of those properties where we might have been being under valued for their assessments and the role.
EDUs.
The EDUs.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thought that's
So,
getting through.
I
know.
wastewater.
There you go.
Thank you. So I think that we're on the right track, and I'd like to see it continue rather than just restart again at the next budget cycle. So I think this will be an ongoing process.
Anybody else have anything? Public comment is closed, so council, do I have a motion?
Just mine won't turn off. Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Anna Richards.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Don Horton.
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman.
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis.
Yes.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
Okay. John? Anything?
That's it.
That's it? Okay, everybody, I guess we're done.
We'll be back here Tuesday.
See everybody Tuesday. Thank you much.